So we'll take this seventh verse. Seventh verse from today.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Niyatastu sannyasa karmano nopupadyate mohatasya parityagas tamasa parikirtita. So Krishna is speaking here and he's saying that prescribed duty should never be renounced. What is prescribed duty? Niyatasya tu sannyasa karmana na upapadyate. Niyat karma. Niyat karma is one's prescribed duties. Already Krishna has spoken about prescribed duties. Which chapter? In much detail. Not new. Prescribed duties should never be renounced if one gives up his prescribed duties because of illusion. Mohatasya parityaga. So Krishna is continuing with the concept of tyag or renunciation. So why one is giving up? Because of illusion. Such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Which verse, which chapter Krishna has spoken about prescribed duties? Much detail. Full chapter is entitled on that. Wait, I know there she'll will be able to make out. What about others? And Krishna gave example also. Come on. How have you all, is it all erased from your memory? Which chapter Krishna spoke about prescribed duties? In so much detail. Only this team of husband, wife, they are answering. What about others? You have not studied? That's very, very disappointing. Manoram Jagannath, after such long time, you took courage to raise your hand. That too with so much of doubt in your heart. A student of Bhagavad Gita should have very, formidable clarity and confidence and conviction. What about you, Ravinder?
Is it about Karma Yoga?
Of course it is Karma Yoga. It is Karma Yoga.
Chapter 3rd and 5th.
Yeah, chapter 3rd. Even chapter 4th. Krishna is talking about performing prescribed duties. Even in the 2nd chapter, Karmanne vadhikaraste. Ma phaleshu kadachana. That's a Mahavakya. That means the conception of Bhagavad Gita has still not entered the heart. In the 19th verse of the 13th chapter, Krishna speaks, Tasmad asakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakto hiya charan karma parmapnoti purushaha. Therefore, without being attached to the fruit of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. For by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. If one does not want to achieve supreme, then he can give up the prescribed duties and remain here and rot in this material world. And then in the 20th verse, he says, Karmanev hi samsiddhem astita janakadaya loka sangram evapi Sampashyan kartum arhasi. Kings such as Janak attained perfection solely by performing prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. And Krishna gives the principle, yad yad acharati shrestha tat tat eva tarojana sayat pramanam kurute. And then he gives his own example. In the 22nd verse, he says, O son of Partha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems. Nor I am in want of anything, nor have I a need to attain anything. And yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. So much Krishna is speaking about performing prescribed duties. One of the principal themes of Bhagavad Gita is to always perform prescribed duties, never to be given up. So one who gives up prescribed duties, why? Because of illusion. And illusion is the result of the mode of ignorance. So Krishna is speaking here that prescribed duties should never be renounced. So what are prescribed? Yajna, Dan and Tapaha. So they can never be given up under any circumstances. Because such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Let us see the purport. Work for material satisfaction must be given up. What is that work? Work for material satisfaction? Kamya karma. Kamya karma. But activities which promote one to spiritual activity, like cooking for the Supreme Lord and offering food to the Lord and then accepting the food, are recommended. It is said that the person in the renounced order of life should not cook for himself. So Prabhupada is again talking about what actually the true renunciation is. Cooking for oneself is prohibited, but cooking for the Supreme Lord is not prohibited. That is a very wonderful pastime of baby Nimai, and a renunciate, a sannyasi, who came to the house of Jagannath Mishra. And he would not accept anything from anyone. He would personally cook. He would offer it to the Lord. And after offering, he would accept the remnants. And that day, Nimai was very, very merciful to him. And he personally ate the offerings. And when Nimai was eating the offering, this sannyasi was getting completely agitated. How many times he cooked?
3 times.
And it became midnight. So if he was actually cooking for himself, he would have never cooked again. Not till midnight. He was thinking that today I am not destined to get food, but he wanted to offer to his Isht, to his deities. So he cooked. So Prabhupada was also performing cooking. Where? Alone, for himself. Where? You have seen Prabhupada's kitchen. In Radha Damodar temple.
Brother.
Damodar temple, Prabhupada had 2 rooms. One was his living and study room. The other was his cooking room and his prasadam room. But he was not cooking for himself, because sannyasi cannot cook for himself. You see, that principle is given in the first verse of the 6th chapter. What is the meaning of sannyas? Who will show it? There, Shri Prabhu, because you are not writing, I don't know. I don't want to disturb Manoram Jagannath. He will send his write-up just after the class. It will be difficult for him. You show me the verse. Now, what is sannyas? So Krishna has already spoken about it. It is higher to cook for the Supreme Lord and then accept rather than going for begging. Yeah. So Krishna gives the definition of who is a sannyasi. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Anashrit Karma Phalam Karyam Karma Karoti Ya sannyasi cha yogi cha nachar niragnir chakriya. Who is a sannyasi Krishna is describing? Wait, where are you rushing? You know the verse? Anashrita. One who is not ashrit. On what? Karma phalam. One who is not attached or dependent on the fruit of his birth. And karyam karma karotiya. He works as he is obligated. In which order? In the order of sannyasa sannyasi. Such a person is in true order of sannyas, and he is a true mystic. Not one who lights no fire and performs no duty. So even for a sannyasi, there is prescribed duty. And he cannot give up that prescribed duty. And Krishna says, one who is not lighting fire, that means one who is not cooking, is not a sannyasi. So what is the higher principle? That one must perform devotional service. That is prescribed under each and every order of social status. Whether it is brahmachari, grihastha, vanprastha or sannyas. So Prabhupada is saying, similarly, a sannyasi may perform a marriage ceremony to help his disciple. Close the screen share. So Prabhupada is, see, whatever we speak, for whomever we speak, it makes an impact. Prabhupada was very severely criticized by his broad brothers for arranging marriage for his disciples. You see how much Prabhupada is speaking about it. We saw the verse, last verse, fifth verse. Prabhupada gave the entire purport and why a sannyasi is engaged in performing marriage ceremony. Prabhupada gave the reason because Krishna is recommending yajna should not be given up. So why one is not performing this devotional activity or devotional service? Because he thinks that it is painful. He is in illusion. He gives it up because of illusion. So that is in the mode of ignorance. So such a renunciation is in the mode of ignorance. If one renounces such activities, it is to be understood he is acting in the mode of darkness or ignorance. Okay. Next, verse number 8. We'll have to take more verses. I'm thinking of taking at least 4 to 5 verses. Because there will be some occasions where we may not have class. Tomorrow will be spiritual scientist class. It's a big chapter, 78 verses. More than 10 days are over of Purushottam. Dukkhamiti eva yat karma kaya klesha bhayatyajet sakritva rajasam tyagam neva tyaga phalam labhet. So see, the 3 types of tyag are in 3 modes only. Manoram Jagannath Prabhu. It is not Yagyadan and Tapa. That is not the renunciation. That has never to be renounced. But here Krishna is explaining that it will be classified on the basis of 3 modes. So the second type of tyaga. Why? Because of dukkham. Dukkham iti eva yat karma. That act which brings unhappiness, or that is which is troublesome. Kaya klesha bhayat tyajet. Kaya means the body. Klesh means the suffering or the troubles. And bhayat means the fear. So one is giving up the prescribed action because it is troublesome. It is bringing some discomfort to the body. And it is invoking some fear in the mind. Sakritva rajasam tyaga. So such an act of renunciation is in the mode of rajasam, passion. Neva tyaga phalam labhet. Such action never leads to elevation of renunciation. Anyone who gives up the prescribed duties as troublesome or out of fear of bodily discomfort, it is said to have renounced in the mode of passion. Such action never leads to the elevation of renunciation. Clear? Or any doubt? What kind of renunciation is in the mode of ignorance? Which one classifies to be in the mode of passion? Is it clear? What is the example of such a tyag? Kaya klesh bhayat tyajet. Very commonly we see. Giving up devotional practice. Why? Kaya klesh bhayat tyajet. Why people give up? They cannot wake up in morning. Why? Because kaya klesha. It is very troublesome to the body. And what is the fear? The fear is of insecurity. If materially I am not prosperous, where will I stand? Kaya klesha bhayat tyajet. One who is in Krishna consciousness should not give up earning money out of fear that he is performing fruitive activity. Prabhupada is contrasting. Prabhupada is talking about his prescribed duties. That if one is in Krishna consciousness, he should not give up earning money out of fear that he is performing fruitive activities. If by working one can engage his money in Krishna consciousness, or if by rising early in the morning, one can advance his transcendental Krishna consciousness, one should not desist out of fear because such activities are considered troublesome. Such renunciation is in the mode of passion. The result of passionate work is always miserable. Where did we learn that? That the result of passionable work is always miserable. Where? Passion is always miserable. What are the characteristics of the three modes? We will revise and review the full Bhagavad Gita. Come on, quickly, you should be knowing. Pradeep. Prabhu. Which verse is this? That the result of passionate work is always miserable. Which verse? Bolo. Rajasam tu phalam dukkham. In the three modes of material nature, Krishna speaks. 16th verse in the 14th chapter. Karmana sukritasyahu satvikam nirmalam phalam rajasastu phalam dukkham ajnanam tamasa phalam. Action done in the mode of passion results in misery. Only one aspect in passion, one will only suffer. And if he gives up what is prescribed, his suffering will become even more. He is thinking by giving up, he will be able to give up the suffering also. No. His suffering will increase. So Prabhupada is giving two examples. That one gives up the practice of spiritual advancement. Why? Because it is dukkha, kaya, klesha, bhaya. Or one gives up his occupation because of fear. Both. So Krishna is checkmating. Neither you can give up your occupational duty, nor you can give up your constitutional duty. Why one is giving up? Thinking that it is troublesome. Then his misery will become even more. Why? Because such a renunciation is influenced by the mode of ignorance. If a person renounces work in that spirit, he never gets the result of renunciation. Clear? Or any discussion? Very, very important. Don't think if you leave Krishna consciousness, you will become happy. You will suffer even much more. Why? Because such a renunciation is in the mode of ignorance. Why? Because out of kaya, klesh, bhaya. Any question? Clear? So both have to be performed. One has to perform his occupational duties also. Krishna has always spoken about it in the 3rd chapter. And he has to perform his constitutional duties also. If he gives up any, he will suffer more. Yes, Sonika.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. And Prabhuji, I have doubt that what is the difference between the Tamsi karma and Tamsi Tyag?
Yeah.
There is little confusion.
There is a confusion. There is clarity that Krishna is saying. Why one is giving up in the mode of ignorance? Because of illusion. Moha. And where is this moha coming? From ajnana. From ajnana. Like Prabhupada gives the example, 2 examples Prabhupada quotes. That a sannyasi should not cook for himself. But Prabhupada always cooked. But he was not cooking for himself. He was cooking to offer it to their lordships. And second example, Prabhupada gives, a sannyasi is not to be engaged in marriage ceremony. But why he was engaged? Because he wanted the spiritual advancement of both the boy and the girl who were his disciples. So the principle is to be applied clearly. And why this is being applied is for a spiritual cause, for a higher cause. So one gives up abruptly, that means he is in ignorance. He is not giving out of any klesha or trouble. But why he is giving up? Because he is thinking renunciation means to give up one's prescribed duty. That is ajnana. And ajnana is in the mode of tamasa, the mode of ignorance. In the mode of passion, why he is giving up? Because of trouble. And where is the trouble? Bodily discomfort and mental fear. Why it is troublesome? कौन उठेगा सवेरे? सुबह उठ के जप करो, सोने को नहीं मिलता. Fear is there. So many fears and doubts are there. If I lose my material friend, what will happen to me? What society will speak about me? So all this is Rajogun. The first is based on not having proper understanding of the Shastra. Okay, understand it in this way. That is Ajnan, Tamasa. Second is because of too much of obsession in bodily comfort, which is passion. Clear?
Yes, Prabhuji. That's clear.
Both will not give any elevation in spiritual path. Yes, Madan Prabhu.
Prabhuji, it's written that sannyasis should not cook for themselves.
Yeah.
This was to stick to the principle of Madhukari or some other reason?
Sannyas means what? Sannyas means
Renunciation.
renunciation of what?
Renunciation of material what?
And yeah, what the person does, renunciation basically from the materialistic activities. And one of the prominent materialist activities is what? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending.
Okay.
So renunciation means that he gives up eating. No, he cannot give up eating. Yes, Madhukari is advised, but higher than Madhukari is that he cooks for the Supreme Lord. That is devotional service. That is Archanam.
Okay, from that angle.
Yeah. So that will give him spiritual elevation. That is what Prabhupada is speaking about.
But Prabhuji,
This,
that even he is not a sannyasi, he still be cook and offer to the God and then.
no, what he is speaking here, that's see, try to understand what Krishna is speaking. He is saying prescribed duty should never be renounced. So what is prescribed is service to the Lord. That is never to be given up, even if one is in sannyas order. If one gives up his prescribed duty because of illusion, what is the illusion? He is thinking his order is higher than the service. That is
Now,
illusion.
rules and regulations are not applicable to him.
Yeah. No, rules and regulations are there, but he is thinking that sannyasi
No,
means he
no.
does not.
If somebody is in the illusion, then he will think that, okay, rules and regulation are now not applicable now because I am in a sannyas order.
Yeah. No, he is thinking that one should not kill, so I will not cook, I will not even offer to the Lord. You see, all our acharyas, they had their personal deities. They were in the Paramhansa stage of sannyas. Sannyas has 4 stages. Bahudaka, Kuti Chakra, Parivajikacharya, and Paramhansa. So they were in the highest order. But they performed cooking. Why? Not for eating, to offer to the deities. Okay. So here
As a
Krishna
part
is
of prescribed, as a part of prescribed duty.
saying, serving the Lord is prescribed duty, isn't it? The Navada Bhakti is to never give up. And in the Navada Bhakti is Shavanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Atma Nivedam. So Vidhi of Archan is offering. That should never
Thank
be
you.
given. That should never be given up. You may fast, you may not eat, but why make the Lord fast? Many times you see, Sanatan Goswami was offering that dry chapati to Madan Mohan. And Madan Mohan appeared to him and said, Arre Baba, this cannot go down my throat. It is so dry. At least give me some salt. And what he's saying, no, I am very busy. You see, today you are asking salt, tomorrow you will ask sweet rice. So where will I get an arrange? How will I do my service to Lord Chaitanya? If you want something, please arrange yourself. And the Lord became so subservient. He said, okay, Baba. And next day, what he did? There was a boat full of salt moving from the Yamuna from the highway. And it got stuck. And that merchant came to Sanatan Goswami. And Sanatan Goswami helped him. And when he came back with a lot of, money and a lot of profit, so he said, what can I do for you? But see, this is Sanatan Goswami. He never accepted anything for himself. He said, if you are pleased, your boat was released because of Madan Mohan. So kindly do some service for Madan Mohan. And he said, yes, I will build a magnificent temple. This is true sannyas. Nothing for the self, but everything for the Lord. Prabhupada said, you give me world's entire treasure. Sannyasis, they don't touch money. I've seen Jain sannyasis. They don't touch money. Why? Because money is the biggest carrier of Maya. It can contaminate. It can degrade. So they don't want to touch it. They don't want to deal in it. But Prabhupada said, you give me all the money, I will engage in Krishna's service. So that is the right principle. So such a renunciation of giving up money, not performing devotional service, such is in the mode of ignorance. Second aspect, giving up service or giving up occupational duty because it is troublesome to the mind and body. Such renunciation is in the mode of passion. And now Krishna will speak about the sato guni tyag. Karyamiti eva yat karma niyatam kriyate arjuna sangam tyaktva phalam cheva satyaga satviko mata. Karyam iti eva yat karma. That which needs to be done. Niyatam kriyate Arjuna. Oh Arjuna, when one performs his prescribed duty only because it ought to be done. Niyatam kriyate Arjuna. And while performing, and renounces all material association and all attachments to the fruit. Sangam tyaktva phalam chaiva. So he's giving up all materialistic association and all attachment to fruits, both. Sangam tattva is disassociation. Sangam is attachment or association, and tattva is to give up. Even he gives up the phalam cheva, the results or the rewards, or here it is mentioned as fruit. His renunciation, satyaga satviko mati. Mati means this is Krishna's opinion. This is the highest opinion. O Arjuna, when one performs his prescribed duty only because it ought to be done, because he is obligated and he discharges his obligation, no other consideration, and renounces all material association and all attachment to the fruit, his renunciation is said to be in the mode of goodness. Again, Krishna is, see how much Krishna is enforcing and emphasizing in performance of prescribed duties. Prescribed duties must be performed with this mentality. One should act without attachment for the result. But it is very difficult for a conditioned soul to be detached and work on the duty consciousness. Why? Because he is on the platform of desire consciousness. On the platform of desire consciousness, he will both be attached to the result and he will be in materialistic association. He cannot give up materialistic association. The impact of the materialistic association is that he has fruitive mentality. He cannot give up the fruitive mentality. Only those who have given up materialistic association can perform their duty. Otherwise, they will remain on the desire platform. And desire platform is which mode? What is another characteristic of mode of passion? Trishna. Trishna. Unlimited desires and hankerings. A man working in Krishna consciousness in a factory does not associate himself with the work of the factory. Prabhupada is giving an example. Not with the workers of the factory. He simply works for Krishna. And when he gives up the result for Krishna, he is acting transcendentally. Okay, so I'll stop here. So Krishna is speaking about 3 types of renunciation. The 3 types of renunciation are influenced by the 3 modes. So what we have to give up? What is the learning from the first 9 verses? 3 things are never to be given up. And what are the things which are always to be given up? Is materialistic association and attachment to food. This is what we have to practice. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivrit kama. What we have to give up? Vinivrit kamaha. You have to give up the material desires. What are the material desires? To enjoy the result of our work. And jita sanga dosha. One has to give up bad materialistic association. Why? Because it infuses in us the fruitive mentality. Then one can advance. Then one can be situated in the order of renunciation. Okay, I'll stop here. Any question or clarification? The Krishna consciousness begins from the platform of duty. It is not a non-starter at the platform of desire. He cannot practice. He has to elevate from the platform of desire to come to the platform of duty. Haribol. So we will recite the 15th chapter. Today I completed the 15th chapter with our PBT devotees, the yellow devotees. How many of you are memorizing the 15th chapter? How many verses have been memorized? Before this month ends, even if you do one verse a day, still you have 20 days. At least do that. And recite few times. Every time you go in front of the deities, in your altar, in your temple, or if you have a lamination or a photograph, it will just take a couple of minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. Recite the full chapter. Practice it few times every day. See how your day will change, how your consciousness will change. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Urdhvamula Madhashakham Ashwatham Prahuravyayam Chandamsi Saparnani Yastam Veda Saved Ved Adhascha Urdhvam Prasatastasya Shakha Guna Pravidha Vishaya Pravala Adhascha Mulani Anusantatani कर्मानुबंधेन मनुष्य लोके न रूपमस्य ततोपलभ्यते नान्तो न चादिर्न च संप्रतिष्ठा अश्वत्थेन सुविरूढमूलम् असंगशस्त्रेण दृढेन चित्वा तथा पदं तत्परिमार्गितव्यम् यस्मिन् गता न निवर्तन्ति भूय तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यथा प्रवृत्ति प्रसता पुराणी निर्माण मोहाजित संग दोषा अध्यात्म नित्या विनिवृत्त कामा द्वंद्वैर्विमुक्ता सुख दुःख संगे गच्छन्ति अमूढ़ा पदमव्ययम् न तद्भासते सूर्यो न शशांको न पावका यद्गत्वा न निवर्तन्ते तद्धाम परमं मम ममेवांशो जीवलोके जीवभूता सनातना मनःषष्ठानि इन्द्रियाणि प्रकृतिस्थाने कार्षति शारीरं यदवाप्नोति यच्चापि उत्क्रमत ईश्वर गृहीत्वेतानि संयाति वायुर्गन्धानि वासे श्रोत्रं चक्षुं स्पर्शनं च रसनं ग्रहणमेव च अधिष्ठाय मनश्चायं विषयानुपसेवते उत्क्रामन्तं स्थितं वापि भुञ्जानान् वा गुणान्वितं विमूढानानुपश्यन्ति पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषा यतन्तो योगिनश्चैनं पश्यन्ति आत्मनि अवस्थितं यतन्तो अपि यत्कृतात्मानो नैनं पश्यति अचेतसः यदादित्यगतं तेजो जगद्भास्यते चाखिलं यच्चन्द्रमसि यच्चाग्नो तत्तेजो विधिमामकम् गामाविश्य च भूतानि धारयामि अहमोजसा पुष्णामि चौषधि सर्वा सुमो भूत्वा रसात्मकम् अहं वैश्वानरो भूत्वा प्राणिनां देहमाश्रिता प्राणपान समायुक्ता पचामि अन्नं चतुर्विधा सर्वस्य चाहं हृदि सन्निविष्टो मत्ता स्मृतिर्ज्ञानमपोहनं च वेदैश्च सर्वैरहमेव वेद्यो वेदान्तकृद्वेदविदेव चाहम् द्वाइमा पुरुषो लोके शरश्चाक्षरेव च शर सर्वाणि भूतानि कूटस्थो अक्षर उच्यते उत्तमा पुरुषस्तु अन्या परमात्मेति उदारता य लोके त्रयमाविश्य बिभर्ति अव्यय ईश्वर यस्माक्षरम् अतीतोऽहम् अक्षरादपि चोत्तमा तोऽस्मि लोकवेदे च प्रतीता पुरुषोत्तमा यो मामेवम् असम्मूढो जानाति पुरुषोत्तमा स सर्वविद भजति मां सर्वभावेन भारत इति गुह्यतमं शास्त्रम् इदं मुक्ता मया नघ एतद्बुद्ध्वा बुद्धिमानः स्यात् कृतकृतश्च भारत ओम तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्म विद्याय योग शास्त्रे श्री कृष्ण अर्जुन संवादे पंचदशो अध्याय श्री पुरुषोत्तम योग नामा इति हरे कृष्ण so tomorrow we will not have this continuation of 18th chapter we will have the spiritual scientist class on the 4th chapter keep writing Pranav when was your last write-up
It was last chapter, Prabhuji.
which chapter
17th chapter I read one write-up.
how many verses did you write how many sections did you write of 17th chapter
One, Prabhuji.
one out of how many verses
It was actually, Prabhuji, I wrote about the three modes.
keep writing I have told you minimum commitment is once in a week if you fall before that then again it is rajo klesha bhaya who will take trouble of troubling the mind of writing such renunciation is in the mode of ignorance or it is in the mode of passion avoid it Hare Krishna Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai Srila Prabhupada
Jai.